Class 12 History, Kings and Chronicles, Part 2, Chapter 9. Now, first is role played by daily routine in Mughal court. In the Mughal court, the king was always the center of all attractions during the daily routine and special activities. Every activity or festivity exposed the power of the king. The following examples can be cited in this regard. Discipline in the court. There are precise rules to determine the status among the Mughal elites. The elites having proximity to the king were accorded an important place in the court. There was a perfect discipline in the court. Once the emperor sat on the throne, no one was allowed to move from his seat. Besides, no one could leave the court without his permission. Forms of address and courtesies all had to follow norms in the code. They had to follow the norms of address, courtesies and speech, which were acceptable in court. Even a slightest deviation in etiquette faced punishment on the spot. The forms of salutation. These were many forms of salutation in the court. They indicated the status of the person in the hierarchy. The deeper prostration represented higher status. The complete prostration or sizda meant the highest form of submission. However, under the reign of Shah Jahan, the rituals were replaced by Chahar Taslim and Jabin pose, that is kissing of ground. Jharokha Darshan. Jharokha Darshan was introduced by Akbar. He wanted to broaden the popular faith in the imperial authority. After performing his devotional prayer, he would go to a small balcony facing the east. The crowd of people comprising of soldiers, merchants, peasants, craft persons and women had the view of the emperor. It was called as Jharokha Darshan. People used to see the king or because they had a faith that king had spiritual power, and the Mughal emperors, they wanted that he is the representative of God on earth. Divine theory of kingship was prevalent. So all their disease or problems will be solved by seeing the king. Now, the role played by women in imperial household. The domestic world of the Mughals was termed as the harem. The origin of the word harem lays in the Persian language, where it meant a sacred place. The Mughal household consisted of the following: wives and concubines of the emperor, the near and distant relatives of the emperor such as mother, stepmother, father, father's mother, sister, daughters, daughters-in-laws, aunts and children, slaves and female servants. Two kinds of wives. The Mughal rulers had two kinds of wives such as Begum and Agach. The Begums came from royal and aristocratic families, while the other had Archas were those wives who were not noble by birth. The Begums enjoyed the higher status than the Agach. Control over financial resources and architectural projects. The Mughal queens and princes exercised a significant control over financial resources. Jahanara and Roshanara, the two daughters of Shah Jahan, earned an annual income equal to that of Mansabdars. Jahanara also got revenue from the port city of Surat, a famous center of overseas trade. They also designed many architectural projects. For example, Jahanara designed the Bazaar of Chandni Chowk in Delhi. She also designed an imposing double-storied Karwa Sarai with a courtyard and garden. Contribution in writing history. Gulbadan Begum, the daughter of Babur, wrote a book entitled Humayun-Nama. It gives a glimpse into the domestic world of the Mughals. Gulbadan Begum also wrote her memoir of earlier times under Babur and Humayun. She described various conflicts and tension that prevailed in Mughal household. Role of elderly women. They played the role of mediation to resolve the conflict that existed between Persian princes and kings. Pause. Now, the features of Mughal chronicles. The Mughal chronicles were dynastic histories. They had the following features. Court historian. The chronicles were written by the court historians on the request of Mughal rulers. They gave an account of the achievements of the Mughal rulers and recorded all major events. Chronological record of events. The chronicles presented a continuous chronological record of important events. They are indispensable sources of information. They are an indispensable source of information about the Mughal history. They explain the true intention of the Mughal emperors behind many of their decisions. Pictorial images. The chronicles include many images which describe an event in the visual form. The pictures gave a visual expression to many events. They express what was otherwise difficult to be conveyed through the written mediums. Similarity between court and history. Similarity between court and history of the emperor. The chronicles written during the reign of Akbar, Shah Jahan and Aurangzeb were titled as Akbarnama, Bashanama and Alamgirnama respectively. They indicate that in the eyes of the authors, the history of the emperor was anonymous to the history of the empire. History of the emperor was synonymous to the history of the empire or royal court. Language. Most of the Mughal court's chronicles were written in Persian. Akbarnama, the official Mughal history, was written in Persian. In the same way, the memoirs of Babur were translated from Turkish into Persian and was known as Baburnama. Important source of Mughal history. The chronicles gives the historians a glimpse into the Mughal history. They recorded all the important historical events during the reign of various Mughal rulers. They are a repository of factual information about the institution of Mughal Empire. Pause this book. Religious policy of Akbar. Akbar was one of the greatest emperors of his time. His religious policy was based on the concepts of liberalness and tolerance. Such a changes in his religious ideas came because of the following reasons. Impact of clan. Akbar's father Humayun was not a fundamentalist. His mother Hamida Banu Begum belonged to the Shia sect. Shias are more liberal as compared to Sunnis. Her mother belonged to Iran. Akbar was greatly influenced by her liberal and tolerant nature. Impact of teachers and protectors. For the first few years as a king, Akbar remained under the protection of Bairam Khan, who was also a Shia. Akbar was very much influenced by Bairam Khan and his teacher Abdul Latif. Now, both were very liberal. Contact with Rajputs. Akbar established martial relationship with Rajputs. His Hindu queens played a great role in changing his religious ideas. Mutual conflict among Maulvis. Akbar was fed up with the mutual conflicts among Maulvis and Mullahs. He went against them and began work in search of religious truth. Impact of Sufi sect. Sufi sects of that time propagated the liberal religious idea, which also helped in changing his religious ideas. Demand of time. Akbar wanted to establish a large empire. That is why he wanted to have cooperation of both Hindus and Muslims. Construction of Ibadat Khana. Akbar established one Ibadat Khana, place of worship at Fatehpur Sikri, where different religious leaders used to express their ideas. From their ideas, Akbar came to know that religious truth does not remain in one particular religion, but is equally exists in all the religions. Thus, because of all these regions, he began behaving in liberal way. He removed jizya, the tax, humiliating tax imposed on non-Muslims. Then he stopped forceful conversion of prisoners into Muslim religion. Thirdly, he stopped tax imposed on Hindus who visited religious places. Fourthly, he allowed Hindus to make temples. So all these steps taken by Akbar shows that he was very liberal and kind-hearted. Deen-e Ilahi, In 1582, he founded a new religion, Din-e-Ilahi. It was the result of progress of religious sentiments of Akbar. Included all the basic concepts and elements of all religions and sects. God, goddesses, spirits, etc. had no place in it. According to this, God is one and Akbar is his topmost devotee. Followers of this religion were not allowed to be non-vegetarian. Its followers used to greet each other by saying Allahu Akbar. So he started new religion, and Raja Birbal was the first person who joined Din-e-Ilahi. He was always ready to sacrifice everything for the devotees were always ready to sacrifice everything for the emperor. Din-e-Ilahi did not become popular because Akbar hardly took any step into popularize it among the masses. Akbar's Mughal administration. Now Mughal administration. Akbar himself was an administrator of top quality. He tried to strengthen the central power. Administrative system started by him remained there the whole of Mughal period. In short, following are the main features of central administration of Akbar and Mughal. Emperor, he was the pivot of the whole administrative system. Everything revolved around the emperor. During the reign of Akbar, Akbar himself was the central axis of administration. All the powers of administration were in his hand, and there was no restriction on his powers. Even then, the emperor hardly acted as an autocratic ruler. Mullahs and walis had no impact on him. He considered himself as a representative of God, and the divine theory of kinship was imposed on people. Council of Ministers. There was an arrangement of Council of Ministers for giving help to emperor in administrative activities. Powers of the ministers were not elaborated as in modern times. They worked according to the orders of the emperor. That is why they could have been called as secretaries of emperor. The post of prime minister was above all the other ministers. Emperor used to seek his advice on all serious matters. Every minister was responsible to emperor himself. They could remain in their office until the emperor remained happy with them. Impact of important ministers and their office are given. Pehla Wakil or Wazir. He acted as prime minister and used to give advice to emperor on all the important matters. Mir Bakshi. His main work was to give salary to military and civilian officials. Sadru Sadar. He was the minister of grants and in charge of appointing local judges or qazis. Khane Sama. He used to arrange necessary things for emperor and his royal family. Qazi, main Qazi. His main work was to give justice. He was the topmost judge after the emperor. Diwan. He used to keep accounts of the empire. His signature were required to pay money to anyone. Other ministers, except these ministers, there were different ministers for forest, postal department, department of artillery, etc. Pause there. Mughal ideal of kinship. That there were many elements that led to the formation of Mughal period as an ideal of kinship. King as a symbol of the divine power. According to many chronicles, the Mughal rulers derived their power directly from God. They were on the top of the list of those who received the light emanating from God. Fare-Izadi. The transmission of the divine light to the king made them the source of spiritual guidance for their subjects. Sulekul, the source of a unifying force. The Mughal empire comprised of many religious communities such as Hindus, Jains, Christians, Zoroastrian and Muslims, Irani, Afghani, Hindustani, Turani. However, the Mughal kings stood above all religious and ethnic groups. They mediated between people belonging to the different religious communities to ensure peace, stability and justice. According to Abul Fazl, The ideal of Suryakul was the cornerstone of enlightenment, enlightened rule and absolute peace. Nobody was permitted to undermine the authority of the state. Similarly, all were exhorted not to fight with each other. In fact, the Mughal rulers instructed all their officers to follow the ideal of Suryakul in administration. Just sovereign as social contract. Just sovereignty as social contract. Abul Fadl defined sovereignty as a social contract. In other words, the emperor protected the following four essence of his subjects: life, jan, property, mal, honor, namus, faith, deen. In lieu of these protection, people expressed their obedience and submission to the king. They also contributed their share of resources. As the sovereign were just, they honored the contract with the power and divine guidance. That is why many symbols were used by artists. There was a popular motif of the lion and the lamb. Both lived peacefully in the company of each other. It signified that Mughal reign was a realm of peace and justice, where both the strong and the weak could exist in harmony. That's all. That's all.